Psychiatrist and clinical neuroscientist Dr. Daniel Amen says,
so diet really does matter. I probably have seen more brains than anybody in the world.
Reviewing my day from a positive standpoint.
Meet Dr. Daniel Amen. Finally discovered the hidden connection between what we eat and how fast our brains grow. Brain and body age, and it is all about reducing inflammation. Today, he will reveal the 5 surprising brain-damaging foods he insists us to avoid to live longer, lose weight, reverse brain disorders, and prevent cancer development. The fat on your body is not innocuous. It increases inflammation. It stores toxins, and it takes healthy hormones and turns them into unhealthy cancer-promoting forms of estrogen. But first, let's grasp briefly why diet and brain health connection matters, affecting 15% of the global population and over 200 mental illnesses. So you're depressed. An antidepressant is not doing one thing for getting your brain healthy. Nobody's talking to you about your diet. Food, I actually think, is responsible for almost half of the mental health challenges in America. Inflammation, which is the cause of depression and dementia. Now we know that inflammatory foods are the gateway to brain diseases and even cancer, which reduces the blood flow to critical parts of the brain. So which 5 specific foods trigger inflammation in the body we must avoid?
So did you know, obviously, your brain's involved in everything you do? How you think, how you feel, how you act, how you get along with other people. At the Amen Clinics, we've looked at over 63,000 brain scans over the last 20 years, and it is very clear to me that your brain is the organ of judgment, personality, character, and innovation. And when your brain works right, you work right. And when your brain is troubled, you are much more likely to have trouble in your life. So what you see on the screen are 2 brain SPECT scans. SPECT is the study that we do in our clinic. It's a very sophisticated brain imaging study that looks at blood flow and activity patterns. It looks at how your brain works. And it basically shows us 3 things. Areas of the brain that work well, areas of the brain that are low in activity, and areas of the brain that are high in activity. So good activity, too little or too much, and then our job becomes balancing it. The image on your left is a healthy scan. It shows full, even, symmetrical activity. The color doesn't mean anything, it's the shape.
So you're depressed, an antidepressant is not doing one thing for getting your brain healthy. Nobody's talking to you about your diet. Food, I actually think, is responsible for almost half of the mental health challenges in America. Inflammation, which is the cause of depression and dementia.
Number 1, trans fats. Your brain is 60% fat, so the solid weight of your brain is mostly fat. Dr. Amen makes a shocking revelation on a fat-based diet. People who have fat-based diets, 42% less risk than the general population of getting Alzheimer's disease. Dr. Amen highlights the crucial need to choose fats wisely, warning us that not all fats are created equal. He urges us to ditch trans fats and saturated fats, which means cutting out vegetable corn and sunflower oils that boost harmful omega-6 fatty acids and trigger inflammation. The typical American diet packed with trans fats throws off the omega-6 to omega-3 balance, worsening inflammation and insulin resistance, and raising the risk of metabolic syndrome. A recent American Heart Association study reveals that high trans fat intake from processed foods and fast meals significantly elevates LDL cholesterol, increasing the risk of heart attacks and cancers. Furthermore, Dr. Amen often points out, while trans fats extend the shelf life of food, they shorten the shelf life of people. Consuming trans fats found in snacks like pretzels is linked to rapid memory loss. Research shows that those who indulge in trans fats remember 11 fewer words than those who don't. This drop in memory highlights how these fats can harm cognitive health and longevity. You'll feel better. Your hormones will be better. Trans fats, found in processed and fried foods, are linked to poor brain health. These unhealthy fats lead to inflammation and plaque buildup in the arteries, which reduces blood flow to the brain. Dr. Amen stresses that trans fats not only harm cardiovascular health, but also contribute to cognitive decline and an increased risk of Alzheimer's disease. Avoiding processed snacks, margarine, and fried fast food is crucial for maintaining optimal brain function. Dr. Amen doesn't hold back, warning that trans fats in the bloodstream can lead to blocked arteries and coronary artery disease. They also elevate risks for prostate and colorectal cancer, and for pregnant women, may result in lower birth weights. He urges everyone to scrutinize ingredient labels. If you see partially hydrogenated oil, it's a red flag that trans fats are sneaking into your diet.
And another really important thing, and thing that'll surprise most people, because we've sort of made cholesterol the enemy. Oh, you don't want a high cholesterol level? Well, all your sex hormones are made from cholesterol. And so if your cholesterol's high and your doctor puts you on a statin and lowers them, under 160 has been associated with depression, aggression, and suicide. And if you add stress in there, well, how do you make stress hormones like cortisol? They come from cholesterol. So if you have low cholesterol levels and you're stressed, you have no material left over to make estrogen, progesterone, or testosterone. And so learning how to manage your cholesterol, and for me it means we should be eating fat-based diets. I'm a total fan of healthy fats. Salmon, avocados, nuts, green leafy vegetables, healthy oils like coconut oil, grapeseed oil, olive oil, macadamia nut oil. Your brain is 60% fat. So the solid weight of your brain is mostly fat. It's like you have this ball of fat between your ears. 30 years ago, the dietary recommendations changed to low-fat diets. Well, what did they replace the fat with? Sugar. And you see, if you look at a map of the United States in 1982, not one state had more than 15% of people obese. Now every single state, more than 15% of people are obese. It was the biggest scam in the history, the health history of our country, that fat was not the problem. Sugar is the problem. And if you have a carbohydrate-based diet, you have 4 times the risk of Alzheimer's disease. People who have fat-based diets, 42% less risk than the general population of getting Alzheimer's disease. If you have a protein-based diet, 21% less risk. That's the right diet. If you want to keep your brain and your body lean and young and smart, you got to get rid of the simple carbohydrates. I call them the high glycemic, low fiber carbohydrates. So, and it's not hard. You just have to be focused on it, but you'll think better, you'll feel better, your hormones will be better.
Number 2, high sodium foods. High sodium foods, particularly those found in processed snacks, salted nuts, crackers, and canned goods, pose significant risks to both cardiovascular and brain health. Dr. Daniel Amen emphasizes that excess sodium can elevate blood pressure, which has a direct impact on brain function. When blood pressure is too high, it reduces blood flow to the brain, starving it of essential oxygen and nutrients. This reduced blood flow can impair cognitive abilities such as memory, attention, and decision-making. Over time, the chronic effects of high sodium consumption can accelerate brain aging and even lead to brain volume shrinkage, a critical marker often associated with neurodegenerative conditions like dementia. Research corroborates Dr. Amen's warnings by showing that diets high in sodium can significantly increase the risk of cognitive decline. Studies have found that people who consume high levels of sodium are more likely to experience vascular dementia, a condition caused by restricted blood flow to the brain, which affects cognition and leads to memory problems. The reduced blood flow also weakens the brain's ability to repair and regenerate cells, accelerating brain aging and decreasing cognitive resilience. Moreover, chronic high sodium intake is linked to a higher likelihood of stroke, which can cause lasting brain damage and impair functions such as speech, mobility, and memory. Over time, these effects contribute to a shorter lifespan, as high sodium diets not only increase the risk of heart disease and hypertension, but also boost the risk of dementia and Alzheimer's disease. The cumulative damage from high sodium intake means the brain is subjected to stressors that gradually erode its structure and function.
Salt cravings have been associated with chronic stress. People who have adrenal fatigue, for example. Also, some people's genetic makeup activates their salty taste buds to feel more pleasure than people who crave sweets. For some people, it's a habit they got in childhood, so their parents put a lot of salt on things. Other people who crave salty foods have a zinc deficiency. And when you're low in zinc, your taste buds don't work very well. And so you put a lot of salt, maybe even pepper on things, just to bring out the flavor so that you can actually taste something. I like it that you're using sea salt. You want to stay away from processed table salt, because when they process table salt, they take out all the other nutrients in it, and often they add aluminum as a drying agent. You don't want more aluminum in your body. That's not a good metal for you. So, sea salt, but not a lot of it, because having excess salt in your diet can affect your heart and can affect your blood pressure.
Number 3, alcohol. Although alcohol isn't a food, it's one of the leading factors contributing to brain attacks and mental illnesses. Alcohol causes damage in the brain. Really, even a little bit of alcohol. Alcohol has been shown to disrupt the white matter in your brain. Obviously, alcoholics, they have terrible-looking brains. According to the World Heart Federation's 2022 policy brief, no amount of alcohol consumption is safe, as it creates serious health risks, particularly for the heart, reinforcing Dr. Daniel Amon's emphasis on how alcohol damages both the brain and body. Anti-alcohol is associated with an increased risk of 7 different types of cancer, including prostate cancer, breast cancer, mouth cancer, larynx cancer, colon cancer. Dr. Amon explains how heavy drinking reduces the formation of new brain cells by 58% by constricting the blood flow to the brain. Even 1 drink a day accelerates the risk of dementia by 57% compared to non-drinkers. You're happier, healthier, wealthier, you're wiser, you're more creative, more innovative. When your brain is not healthy, you're sadder, sicker, poorer, not as smart. You're more rigid and you're inflexible. He believes alcohol is poison that not only increases inflammation, but weakens your immunity and gut health, thereby making you more prone to infections and chronic disorders like liver disease, neurological issues, GI cancers, and irritable bowel syndrome. What's more is that according to a recent study, excessive alcohol use causes over 140,000 deaths in the U.S. each year, shortening lives by an average of 26 years. This can lead to severe liver damage, known as cirrhosis, which is linked to 43% of liver disease deaths in the U.S.
Alcohol causes damage in the brain.
Really?
Even a little bit of alcohol. Alcohol has been shown to disrupt the white matter in your brain. Obviously, alcoholics, they have terrible looking brains.
Any alcohol is associated with an increased risk of 7 different types of cancer, including prostate cancer, breast cancer, mouth cancer, larynx cancer, colon cancer.
Alcohol is directly toxic to brain function. I know many of you believe you have to have your 2 glasses of red wine a day because it's good for your heart. It's not good for your brain. With a healthy brain, it's very clear to me you're happier, healthier, wealthier, you're wiser, you're more creative, more innovative. When your brain is not healthy, for whatever reason, you had a brain injury, you have a terrible diet, you live in a toxic environment, you're sadder, sicker, poorer, not as smart, you're more rigid, and you're inflexible, which is the opposite of innovation. I've said this tens of thousands of times, and it always blows me away. Your brain is the most complicated organ in the universe. There is nothing as complex as the human brain. Nothing. It's estimated we have 100 billion nerve cells, and each nerve cell is connected to other nerve cells, not in a one-to-one connection, but up to 10,000 individual connections between cells, which means you have more connections in your skull than there are stars in the universe. Information in your brain travels at about 268 miles an hour, unless, of course, you're drunk.
So a lot of people ask me why I don't drink. Well, I really like my brain, and I don't like being out of control. Plus, I've seen thousands of scans of drinkers, and they're not healthy. I want to live a long time with my brain intact, and I actually did a show called The Truth About Drinking that won an Emmy Award many years ago, where we took a young kid who was drinking a lot, got him sober, and then got him drunk. And we scanned him drunk, and his frontal lobes went away. Why do you care? The front part of your brain, things like focus, forethought, judgment, impulse control, organization, planning, empathy, you want all those things.
Number 4, sugar. It's ultimately going to give you high blood sugar levels, which erode your blood vessels, and you're going to have lower blood flow to your brain. Dr. Amen stresses how sugar is addictive and inflammatory, leading to depression, obesity, dementia, and brain fog. As we consume more sugar and sugar alternatives, our brain starts to mimic ADHD and accelerates brain aging. Get rid of artificial dyes, sweeteners. He calls sugar a white menace, highlighting that refined sugars in snacks and drinks cause rapid blood sugar spikes, leading to brain inflammation, memory loss, brain fog, and lower IQ. Artificial sweeteners like stevia and aspartame are equally harmful, altering brain structure and negatively impacting mood, cognition, and increasing migraines and anxiety. A jaw-dropping 75% of Americans are hooked on sugar, thanks to a standard American diet overflowing with sugary cereals, baked treats, and soda. This sugar rush isn't just sweet, it's wreaking havoc, driving up rates of mental depression, type 2 diabetes, and obesity by over 40%. It was the biggest scam in the history, the health history of our country. That fat was not the problem. Sugar is the problem. According to the American Brain Association, this sugar addiction accelerates aging and cardiovascular diseases, leading to premature death, especially among the youth, whose love for sugary drinks is inflicting irreversible brain damage and cognitive decline. He explains how a high-carb diet is a lethal one that can potentially kill you faster. If you have a carbohydrate-based diet, you have 4 times the risk of Alzheimer's disease. Furthermore, Dr. Daniel Amen explains that sugar causes erratic brain cell firing, which can contribute to aggression. He adds that children who consume sugar daily often show signs of violent behavior later in life. So reducing sugar intake is not just better for brain health, but also key to living a longer, healthier life.
It's ultimately going to give you high blood sugar levels, which erode your blood vessels, and you're going to have lower blood flow to your brain.
Get rid of artificial dyes, sweeteners.
Worldwide, the incidence of sugar or artificial sweetener drinks and foods has just skyrocketed. On average, I think I read Americans consume about 150 pounds of sugar a year. Just think about how crazy that might be. And we know sugar is pro-inflammatory, that it's addictive, and ultimately can make you not that smart and can delay healing, and so on. So anyways, I'm always paying attention to the research. I haven't seen any studies that say eating a lot of sugar is actually good for you. I have published 3 studies that show as your weight goes up, the actual physical size and functioning of your brain goes down, which should scare the fat off anyone. Well, brand new study out today in the Journal of Nutrition Neuroscience. I have my notes here. And what they studied was, so they washed people out of any sugar or artificial sweeteners for a week. And then they separated the groups: sugar, sucralose or Splenda, and stevia. And then after a while, actually, let me read you the method. So 23 women, 16 men, between the ages of 18 to 35. They were all normal weight. So 1 week washout period, which food with added sugars or sweeteners were restricted. They assessed their cognitive function with neuropsych testing, and they did quantitative EEG. And then they separated them into 3 groups: sugar, Splenda, stevia. And they were given equal amounts for 6 weeks. And after 6 weeks, they studied them again. The results showed there was no difference for stevia. But for the sugar group, encoding new memories was significantly lower than before. So eating sugar for those 6 weeks decreased their memory. Strikingly, the researchers said, the sucralose or Splenda group showed significant decrease in overall memory and coding. We're going to talk about why you need to lose this sugar.
Absolutely. I feel like sugar is the one thing that if you want to make a change in your diet, it has to go. It hurts your brain, it hurts your body weight, it hurts your metabolism. There's really no benefit to added sugar in our diet.
So it's addictive, it's pro-inflammatory, it makes you gain weight, and can actually decrease your IQ. Kill the sugar.
I agree. Get rid of it.
Number 5. Processed foods. Dr. Amen urges you to ditch all processed foods, especially ultra-processed meats and dairy. These foods are packed with sodium, artificial additives, and preservatives that spark inflammation and oxidative stress in the brain, impairing cognitive function and raising the risk of neurodegenerative diseases. Processed meats like bacon and sausage are especially concerning due to their high nitrate content, which transforms into harmful compounds in your body. Foods that make you depressed. I know you're not going to want to hear this. Sugar and fast foods because they're fibrous foods. That's why they're fast. They get you in there and out fast. Processed foods, popcorn, and corn. Related foods because often it's pro-inflammatory. A recent study reveals that high processed meat intake raises the risk of colorectal cancer by 42%, with the World Health Organization labeling these meats as Group 1 carcinogens. Alarmingly, diets rich in processed foods, packed with trans fats and lacking essential nutrients, are linked to increased dementia.
Foods that make you depressed. I know you're not going to want to hear this. Sugar and fast foods because they're fiberless foods. That's why they're fast. They get you in there and out fast. Processed foods, popcorn and corn-related foods, because often it's pro-inflammatory. So if it's grown on a plant, eat it. If it's made in a plant, don't eat it. Foods that make you nervous, make you anxious, make you wired, make you weird. So things with caffeine can clearly do that for vulnerable people. For sensitive people, gluten, dairy, corn, soy, red dye number 40, monosodium glutamate. For some people, I want you to start reading the labels, and then what's critically important, be a detective. Notice how you feel and then go, what did I eat? And when you feel great, go, what did I eat? And when you feel angry or anxious or sad, go, what was my diet like? I have to tell you, the nutritionists at Amen Clinics have better success stories than virtually everyone, because food is medicine or food is poison.
You are what you eat. You think based on what you eat. Real weapons of mass destruction are highly processed, pesticide sprayed, high glycemic, low fiber, food-like substances stored in plastic containers. It's the fattening and the killing of American society that we've now exported around the world. 72% of Americans are overweight. 42% are obese. 20% of children are overweight or obese. It's the biggest brain drain.
If you have a carbohydrate-based diet, you have 4 times the risk of Alzheimer's disease.
Have 42% less risk of getting Alzheimer's disease. People have a simple carbohydrate-based diet: bread, pasta, potatoes, rice, fruit juice, and sugar. The standard American diet have a 400% increased risk of getting Alzheimer's disease. A study from the Mayo Clinic.
Number 6, dairy. Dr. Amen stresses the hidden risks associated with regular dairy consumption, particularly the milk protein casein. Many people are allergic or sensitive to casein, leading to a wide range of health issues. Casein intolerance can cause inflammation, which is a precursor to several neurodegenerative diseases and mood disorders. According to Dr. Amen, this inflammation can affect the brain by increasing the risk of conditions like Parkinson's disease, depression, and even contribute to arthritis. Chronic inflammation disrupts normal brain function, impacting memory, mood regulation, and cognitive clarity. In addition to casein, Dr. Amen points to lactose intolerance as another problem for brain health. The inability to properly digest lactose can cause gastrointestinal issues, which in turn affects the gut-brain axis, a crucial communication network that links gut health to brain function. Poor gut health can negatively influence mental clarity, cause fatigue, and lower mood stability. Dr. Amen also underscores the detrimental impact of white bread and other processed carbohydrates. When consumed, these foods lead to rapid blood sugar spikes, offering a short-term boost in serotonin, a neurotransmitter that plays a significant role in mood regulation. However, this quick serotonin increase is deceptive. While it may temporarily lift mood, it results in the suppression of the frontal lobe function, a critical region responsible for executive functions such as decision-making, focus, and problem-solving. The serotonin boost is short-lived, and the subsequent drop can cause feelings of lethargy, mental fatigue, and hindered cognitive abilities. Additionally, the high glycemic index of foods like white bread forces the body to produce more insulin, a process that, over time, increases the risk of insulin resistance, further impairing brain function and contributing to the development of conditions like diabetes, which are closely linked to cognitive decline.
The bread is an investment on their part, because bread gives you a sugar spike, a blood sugar spike, which then pushes serotonin in your brain and makes you happy. But serotonin drops frontal lobe function. Yes, it shrinks it. It's sad. I mean, what it does is it wears out your pleasure centers. So you have these two areas in your brain called the nucleus accumbens, and they respond to dopamine. And they bring you happiness, and they bring you pleasure, and they bring you motivation, and they bring you drive.